Hey guys, how's it going? We're back again. It's a wonderful number here. Beautiful, beautiful Monday night, and it's always the off night for us. So I'm going to bring you on. I'm going to bring on the guy, the master of ceremonies, Mr. Mark Sweetman. Come on out, Mark.
Hey! How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing good. Things have been kind of it's not am I doing good? How is U of M doing? That's the key question.
Oh, is it all based on? Yeah. See, I got to enjoy the game because I went to Wayne State. I got no skin in the game, so
Exactly.
I really enjoy those games.
Yes, there was funny the rivalry between. I mean, I went to Central, so I'm kind of out of the deal anyway.
Well, there you go.
I spent a semester at Central, so that's my alma mater, and so and I also spent a semester in North Dakota.
I mean, as it turns out, I realized I would not have been unhappy if either team had won because one team would have come out still undefeated.
Yes,
and
exactly.
one of the top ranked teams in the country. So
exactly. So I lean towards MSU because both my parents went to Michigan State. So, and that's during the lean years of Michigan State, it was kind of like, yeah, we got you feel obliged, almost like being a Lions fan, to sort of say during the lean years, when U of M was actually the dominant factor for a while.
I like my wife's attitude is she pulls for U of M because our daughter was saved by C.S. Mott Hospital at U of M. So
got it.
She had her bone marrow transplant there, so she pulls for them.
Oh, that's very good. That is the only. I think that's the most legitimate reason for going with U of M. So, but I got to tell you, I like the coach at MSU.
Yeah, I do too. And I like that running back.
Oh my God. It's like, you have all these little factors of two guys, the throwing, McNamara's band, the whole thing. And then it was just in the way that they behaved on the field. You had McNamara always, worshiping everything he did and, worshiping every throw that he did. And then you see the other side, and it's sort of like this very stoic response to almost everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they responded stoically, like a group, much in the same way that the character of the guy who's leading him. Have you ever seen an interview with him?
Oh yeah, he's very straight laced. Yeah,
he's very straight. He brings in a chalkboard to tell you. It's like, well, this is what we're doing. Everything. The man needs a chalkboard for everything, that's basically it. So,
well, and the funny thing is, he's a what do you call it? The guy that used to be at Michigan State that's at Alabama now. Can't think of his name. Yeah, he's a Nick Saban devotee or acolyte. Wow. He's one of the. He was brought up under Nick Saban, and he was the recruiter. His claim to he wasn't the X's and O's. He wasn't the player motivator. Every coach has some sort of specialty. You're the motivator, the administrator. You're the play caller. You're the X's and O's guys. You're the conditioning guy. Some coach usually has something that they're better at than everything. But he was known as the recruiter, the guy who could get the high school kids to sign up for the school. And so they kind of took a chance on him, thinking, well, we'll get the players, and it turns out he's not a bad X's and O's guy. He's not a bad guy as far as football goes. So
it
works out great. Well, and the thing is, because I didn't go to those schools. I don't have any kids that go to those schools. My parents didn't go to either one of those schools. So, to me, if they're both undefeated, that's the best thing that could happen.
Oh yeah.
Now, sometimes I tend to pull for Michigan State over Michigan because Michigan sometimes gets a little howdy about the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. This whole thing about, they're kind of like the Yankees in that Aaron Boone after they got eliminated by the Red Sox, he has this press. Did I tell you this story?
No.
He has this press conference, and he says, the Yankees have to realize that the rest of the American League is caught up to us. And the reporter said, what do you mean? He says, well, we're the New York Yankees, but, there's some teams that can beat the New York Yankees. And the reporter was quick to point out, you haven't won the World Championship since 2009. That's 12 years. I think the caught up process has already happened. It's not like they're starting to catch up with you. And U of M sometimes has a little bit of that, forgetting that they've really lost like 12 of the last 17 games against Michigan State.
Yeah.
So, there's really no room for them to say, Michigan State's getting pretty good. Michigan State is already there. So,
or somebody called it the little brother of Michigan or something like that.
That was can't think of the guy's name now. He was a running back, and he called him their little brother. They like to think, they root for him when they're not playing them because they're like their little brother,
Exactly.
And the people at Michigan State got really upset. Mike somebody, I can't think of the guy. He was a running back. But anyway, that's like 20 years ago now.
Oh yeah.
But,
he probably no longer runs.
I'm sure if he's still in football, he's the X's and O's guy now.
Yeah, it's like X's. That's where my leg used to be. No,
exactly. Oh, I just started playing basketball again.
Oh, how did that? Oh my God, how did that go?
I'm taking a class at Schoolcraft College. It's called senior basketball, and there's no instructor because everybody there knows how to play basketball. It's just the only way we could get the gym time at the college was to have a community class. Call it senior basketball. It's all guys over 60. And I'm telling you, my shooting elbow is shot. So I have become. They think I am the most unselfish player in the entire group because I pass the ball all the time. And I'm pretty decent at passing, but it's only because unless I have a layup, I can't shoot. I just can't shoot the thing past 3 feet.
Wow.
I've really developed my passing and assist game. So. That
game
was really good with those assists. Yeah, great pass. Yeah.
He's a great passer. That guy is. So basically, you've developed the Moneyball version of senior ball.
Yeah, that's very good. And
he's
the funny thing is,
he's the guy who passes.
Here's the funny thing is to keep them faked out. I have to make sure that I don't get open. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I get open, there's been a couple of times. In fact, last time we played last Thursday, I get the ball. They go, shoot it up. And I'm going, oh, no. You're wide open.
And I don't feel it. I don't feel right.
I didn't feel it right. I didn't want to tell them that it would be a brick air ball, if I shot it from.
I'm just a shy guy. I don't want to take any glory from somebody else. So here, take the ball.
There's so many people who don't get to shoot. I'd just rather pass it off to them.
I just rather pass it on. It's just all I want to go. I want to pass it on. That's my job.
I'm hoping as I keep playing, one, I'll lose weight. Did I tell you that I'm down to? I was on the scale. We don't have a scale in our house, which always drove my mom bats. She's gone now, but she was always buying us scales, and so we'd realize that we didn't need it and give it to somebody or sell it in the garage sale or something like that. Where's your scale? Oh, I don't know. I think we gave it away. Why? You guys don't have a scale? I go, well, what do we need a scale for? We're going to weigh yourself. Oh, what's that going to tell us? Well, how much you weigh? I go, why do we need to know that? So, if you're gaining or losing weight, I go, I see my doctor every 6 months. He puts me on the scale. That's enough. I mean, do I weigh more or do I weigh less than the last time I saw the doctor? I don't need to do this every day. My mom would step on the scale every day, and what does it do? It either, one, you can't lose weight every day. You can't lose 365 pounds in a year and live. So, and then if you get, what are you doing? You can't celebrate all the time. And then if you gain weight, you get depressed. I mean, it's much better to get the good news or the bad news every 6 months. But anyway, the good news is I'm under 110 pounds for the first time since, I don't know, probably since I moved.
110 pounds? Are you dying?
I'm sorry.
Are you dying?
210 pounds.
210 pounds. Gotcha.
So if I'm thinking, I've never tried to lose weight before. It's only been, I think I credit or blame the pandemic because I think it's all about not eating quickly And when you got time or something that you can order fast food from carry out, when you're at home all the time, you got time to, make a decent meal,
Yeah.
go out and buy the right foods and, all that stuff. And I think that because
Yeah.
I haven't been exercising it now that I'm playing basketball, I'll go to the doctor after 6 months of playing basketball, see if that does anything. But if I get under 200 pounds, it'll be the first time I've been under 200 pounds since I think before I had kids.
Wow.
So
wow, that's fantastic.
So that'd be kind of good. It'd be better if I felt better about it, but I was hoping when I lost weight I would feel better. But I mean, I still feel old.
Well, you gotta feel good about being able to move around. Your muscles have to be able to feeling better a little bit.
I guess so. You know what? When I sit in a chair, my wife doesn't go, "What's that?" Like every time I sit down in a chair, it'll be like, "Flump." She goes, "What happened?" I sat down. And he goes, "Well, could you sit down gently?" I go, "How do you do that?" She goes, "You just lower yourself out of the chair." I go, "Honey, this is back when I was like 260 plus, 265." And I say, "When I start to go down, there's nothing stopping me." I just keep going down.
There is no muscle that stops that.
I just keep, exactly. I just keep going down the chair. Even if there was muscle, the weight balance would just send me, even if I stop my legs from bending and moving, the weight balance would just keep sending me backwards. Ah!
Yeah. So, you losing weight is interesting because it's sort of like you eliminate half the salt and sugar by just cooking at home.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, and salt was never a problem.
Yeah.
Sugar was a problem because of the carbs. And all this weight loss started, the doctor says I'm doing it the right way because I'm not losing, 10 pounds in a week like the fad diets. I'm losing like a half a pound a month or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because half a pound a month is 6 pounds a year.
Steady loss of weight.
If you're losing 6 pounds a year, in 10 years, you've lost 60 pounds, and that's how I gained it. I didn't gain, 260 pounds. Well, let's see, I was 172 when I got married. So I didn't gain 89 pounds in a year.
Yeah.
It took me 35 years to get that much weight. So it makes sense that I would lose it.
3 years, 3 pounds a year you gain. Yeah.
Exactly. So it makes sense that I could, lose half a pound a month or something. So he's happy with that. And the thing that helps with is basketball. So I don't think I could have done basketball at 265.
No, it would have your whole body would have thrown off.
Yeah, at 210 it's a little bit easier. I tell you what though, I've taken 3 tumbles already, and man, I mean it is. I can't just bounce back up. I need to put my hand up and have 2 guys grab me and pull me up. I just cannot get when I make a fall on the basketball court. It's really bad. So,
do you think you're more susceptible to fractures now, or?
I don't know. In 2014, I was working at Joey's, and I went to walk the dog. It was the first freeze, no snow, but the moisture on the sidewalk froze, and I slipped. And those gutters you got on the side of your sidewalk?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you trim the gutters, basically for drainage. My foot went in there, and my ankle did not. And I had 8 broken bones between my ankle and my shin. I had 8 broken bones.
Wow.
And that was the only broken bone I ever had in my life. And it's completely healed. I had 3 surgeries though in a year before that was all taken care of. Wow. I mean, they had to put pins in, they had to take pins out. It was a mess. You might have seen me in there in that time. Remember I had that walker and stroller at the Unclub?
Yeah. Okay. So that was that period. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
It's back when the Unclub was still in the mix over there in downtown.
Yeah. Now, are you planning to have a reunion? Because I saw that.
Tim and I are planning that. It's now 2 events because he wanted to invite the public, and I said, but we can't have food at this theater in the theater. It's got to be out in the lobby. So he says, so we agreed on we're going to do a 6:00 event for the unclubbers, and that's in the unclub group. And that unclub group is a private group, so nobody can see anything unless they're in that group. And I only made that people that were in the club, basically in the made it clubby, made the unclub clubby, and but I don't know how many people. I don't know how many people have dropped out. And so I kind of asked people to let me know if there's anybody they not see on that list. And then I created a public one, and Tim, I was able to put him as administrator on that one, and that's going to be the 8:00 show. We're going to do like a showcase.
Oh, okay.
And so now, right away, I got people that weren't even around during the Young Club want to be on the show. And I said, no, this is a reunion. You weren't even doing comedy when the Young Club was going on. So I'm going to save this for the Young Club people. Just settle down. There's plenty of other shitty open mics that you can do if you just want to.
This was the first shitty open mic that was ever made out there, Nobody.
So Tim wanted to know whether we should do like a donation. I said, well, that's how the Unclub always was. It was always donation, but don't let that you can't donate keep you from coming. Yeah. And people usually threw in $5 or something like that. So we're gonna raise the suggested donation to $10.
Now, do we have to pay the rec a rental fee?
You mean the Riverside Arts Center?
Yeah.
I think Tim's already got it for that night. That's why he offered it. So his company is doing that production. And so that Sunday night is part of what he's got that Sunday night available.
Oh, what is he doing? Is he have a theater program?
He's doing a production. He's producing a play or something. I don't know. He's got something going on.
Okay.
So anyway, I thought we'd do like 6:00, do the potluck reunion, and then 8:00 do the show. And then we haven't discussed how I don't think that'll be a donation. If we do a show, I think those that are at the reunion will be able to go to the show, but those on a donation basis. But I think we should probably charge an admission for the show because we got some pretty decent alumni. You know what I mean? If we get everybody that wants to come, and I can just pare it down to the people that I know have good shows, unlike the Unclub, which was, we got a lot of enjoyment out of people that weren't particularly funny. I don't know if that one guy that Thomas, I think his name was, I can't think of his last name, but remember the guy that Tim knew him, but he was like a professor, like a humanities professor or something like that.
Oh yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
I think I remember that cat. Yeah, I don't know. I know who you're talking about, but I don't know what his deal is now.
We never saw once we moved out of the Washington Street, the Mix Theater. Never saw him again. He never made it to the Yellow Barn or for that other place out on Washtenaw or Michigan. That was Michigan Avenue. So anyway. We'll see. I mean, we got a couple months until that's.
And that's a 26. You have that for the 26th,
yeah,
right?
The day after Christmas. And then somebody said to me, "Hey, that's the day after Christmas. Why did you do it? That's a family holiday. Why did you do it the day after Christmas?" Because we did shows at the Unclub on Christmas Day. I mean, we were for the downtrodden, the people without families, the people that had to get away from the drunk uncle. That was what the Unclub was all about. And we did a show every Sunday night, no matter what.
Yeah, what people don't know is that most comics don't have the families don't want them at the holidays.
Exactly.
They don't need any witty sayings at the table about how Uncle is so and so. Really? Why don't you go outside? Just go outside. Just go to a film. Go see a film somewhere.
Hey, Mark, don't you have a club in Ipsy that you need to go to on Sunday nights?
Yeah. Your witticisms are making us all nervous. So get out of here. It's like, come on.
So
I want to see more penis jokes at the table. Thank you so much. All right, let's get out of here, okay?
So in account of and because of and in honor of and due to the Unclub reunion, I'm actually linked this YouTube cast to the Unclub page. So people that didn't know about it may get a notification in their Facebook notifications, and they may get to see this. And hello all to all of you. Facebook page and the Facebook group are two different things. I didn't talk about it publicly at the time, but the Facebook group for people who had actually been on stage in the Unclub. That was the Unclub group. And the reason that was is we could make it private and we could have discussions amongst ourselves without it going out into the public. The Facebook page was how we publicized our shows. And the other thing about the Facebook page, too, is if you've got the Roku or the Fire Stick streaming app, anything we put on the page, you can broadcast to your television on those apps. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so welcome Unclub. I got them joined. As usual, we're on the Detroit Comedians and Comedy Fans page and the Mark Sweetman Comedian Storyteller page. There might be another one, too. I can't think of which ones. Anyway, I'm Mark Sweetman. My co-host and cohort, as always, is Andy Jensen. And one of the other features we have every week is a poem by my wife where she writes in verse the events of the week. And it gets shorter and shorter every week. And this week, she's not even here, but she does, through the miracle of texting, she was able to send me her poem. So here it is by Susan Sweetman. Oh, I like this. It had been she did put Susan Salisbury Sweetman. It had been Susan Salisbury for a while, which is her maiden name, and, got me a little bit worried, but I guess she's gone and added my name back. That's kind of nice. And here we are, a poem for November 1st, 2021 by Susan Sweetman. There we go. What's happening in the world this week? What news is there? What do you seek? Reporting now with this short poem from Michigan inside my home. Halloween is over. Done. Time for global climate fun. Britain's fossil fuels go away. They'll put clean energy on display. Sudan had a military coup. Protesters killed. What can we do? Sudanese want civilian rule. Their military is being cruel. New Zealand had a contest to pick a bird. The winner may be quite absurd. Fella, hold on to your hat. The winning bird's the long-tailed bat. I hope that this week's news and prose has grabbed your whiskers and tickled your toes. Enjoy the podcast now, my friend, because this poem is at the end.
Oh, wow.
Not a lot of news, not a lot of newsy stuff in there. I did hear about the Sudan coup. Interesting that the people in New Zealand would have a contest to pick their national bird, and they picked a bat.
That's New Zealand, man. That's New Zealand.
Yeah, I guess so. We like New Zealand, though, don't we? The progressives like New Zealand.
If you ever looked into the history of New Zealand and all that stuff, it's always like off stuff. It's like their whole approach to the world is completely different, which is probably why they didn't have COVID on their shores.
Yeah,
they're a much more. It's I don't know how to explain it. All religions are equal. It's.
I like their motto.
It's a very interesting place.
I like their motto: New Zealand, nuclear-free since forever.
Yeah. All right. If there's any place that has sort of like a Royal Oak feel to it, as a country, that's it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess you're right. It's interesting. I don't know much about their indigenous population, but it seems to me like there wasn't that much. Like these islands were pretty much not totally uninhabited, but it's not like Australia where it became a British penal colony and the whites took over. Like everywhere England seems to have a colony. It seems to be, South Africa, America, Australia, Canada. The whites seem to take over.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I have a interesting thing about colonization, about how different countries colonize and how which colonies ended up maintaining a stable government after the dominant country left. And if you look at the record between Spanish, French, and the English actually their colonies maintained a government status more than the French or the Spanish did, or even the Portuguese.
I would say because the English have more of a democratic tradition that can live with a monarchy. And so, you know what I mean? All you're doing is say, if Britain decided to do away with their monarchy, they would still go on. You know, it's not that the monarchy is just sort of window dressing type of thing.
Well, the key thing is the way they approach land development. They made it up to the individual, and if you went out, you could get a parcel of land if you worked for the British thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they incorporated part of that was they incorporated the population, the native population, into the administration aspect of it. Okay.
Okay.
Where Spain basically wiped out the population and put their population in to take over, and it was all about the aristocracy. So they never had like a universal land given out to people. It was all like this aristocracy got this aristocracy got that, and it was all about putting their culture into that culture, or wiping out the culture in there. Okay. The French culture was trying to incorporate them into, like, they would take the natives, take them back to France, and bring them back to try and make them French. So it was more of a, there was no democracy. There's no attempt to try and make that group into a French colony. They would just basically come in, military. It'd be like a protectorate, and then once they were thrown out, say the Vietnam era, then they would just leave. So what was left behind was nothing left. You know, they were never training people to be administrators. They were training people to make their own government. But the British did that.
Yeah, the other colonizers were the Dutch and the Portuguese.
And they were there just to exploit. You know, if you look at the Belgium, the Congo, it was nothing about it. It was basically just go in, get whatever they can. It was a businessman approach. We're here. We'll talk to anybody. No matter we're not here to judge you. Just give us the gold and the diamonds, and we're out of here. So, there was no attempt to make a government there. It was just exploitation of the resources.
And of course, Russia, all they did was go east. They didn't have to conquer anything. They just moved east and went, anybody using this? Anybody? Anybody using this land?
Anybody here? Anybody there? No, we don't recognize that you're here. You're part of you're just a state. That's part of a state. We'll come here. Well, you know, we're just moving our gun. We have to place our guns here. Okay. But the other side of the British thing too is that they also, if you ever watch the movie The Man Who Would Be King with Sean Connery and Christopher Plummer and Michael Caine. Yeah, they go into the whole breakdown of how they basically conquered each thing. They would go in, they would make friends. They would initially get one tribe, they make friends with that tribe, and they say, "Who are your enemies? Let us help you get rid of your enemies." And they basically subjugate each other tribe along the way, but they would use that as a way of conquering the next tribe. And they essentially would wipe out the control of each tribe as they went through. So I'm not saying the British did not use genocide. They did use genocide. But they termed it in terms of conquering. So, yeah.
Now, here's a trivia question for you. Not counting the English territories in the Caribbean, so not the island nations, which Western Hemisphere countries have English as their official language, or at least one of their official languages?
Which countries?
Which countries in the Western Hemisphere? We're not talking about Barbados and Jamaica and Bermuda. I'm not talking about any of the island nations, because there's a lot of them that have English because they flew the British flag for so long. But there's 4 countries in the Western Hemisphere, North, Central, and South America, that have English as their first and or second language. Canada's the only one that's got two. Canada's got French and English, but and of course
Canada,
U.S. There's two more. I'll give you a hint. One's in Central America. One's in South America.
I'm going to say Belize and Costa Rica.
Belize, nope. Belize and Guyana.
Guyana. Oh, Guyana. That's right.
The People's Temple, Guyana. That Guyana.
Yeah. And there's also a French Guyana down there too.
There is a French Guyana, but I'm not sure the French Guyana is in. Is it in South America?
I think so. Because that's where Devil's Island is.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We saw Papillon, right?
I sure did. That's probably the first. Papillon was the first movie I ever saw after I read the book.
Ah, wow.
I mean, there were a lot of movies that I saw, and then I read the book. But that one and the other movie I saw after I read the book was The Taking of Pelham 123, which was about a hijacking of a New York subway.
Yeah.
I read that book and then saw the movie. There was a time there between like 12 and 16 where I was a voracious reader. To be more of a reader, when I was in school, to be more of a reader than I was, you had to be a chick.
Yeah. But what they were reading was a lot of cereal, basically cereal stuff that was all kind of like
the only cereal I ever got into was Remo Williams. Did you ever read any Remo Williams books?
Yeah. That was pretty good stuff.
That's really the only cereal I got into. That I enjoyed. I mean, those were so simple. You could pound those out in a day. He probably wrote them in a day. That's how Pulp Fiction they were. But they were a fun read.
Yeah.
The guy that turned me on to those were a comic. Rob Bartlett. Remember Rob Bartlett?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anyway,
what years was he there? What years was he dominant?
Rob in the 80s. He was
late 80s?
Yeah, he and at one time when he and Eddie Murphy were both started, he and Eddie Murphy were a team at the comic strip in New York. A comedy team. Back when it was comic. Remember how common comedy teams were?
Oh yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of comedy teams around here. I mean, eventually they all became
SRO. I remember I were over SRO all the time.
SRO, yep, SRO.
And then was it Noches and Malone and Noches?
Malone and Nucci's. That was a great comedy team. O'Brien and Valdez.
Yeah.
Zach and Mac.
No, the Scalar brothers were in town just recently.
Oh yeah, they were just in town, weren't they?
No, they were. But who was Leo and Substitute Leo? What was it? Who were those guys?
Stephen Leo.
Yeah.
Stephen Leo. Stephen Leo. They don't do comedy anymore because they made a gazillion bucks. They wrote all of the Tim Allen Santa Claus films.
Yeah.
So that was their ticket to fame and fortune. So if the writers made enough money that they never have to work again, can you imagine what the kind of money Tim Allen's yanking down? He's got his first show went 8 seasons, his second show went 9 seasons. He's got 4 or 5 top movies, a couple of top selling books, works Vegas on the weekends,
Yeah.
And he used to work Bees.
Who knows? I mean, who knows?
Speaking of Bees, we didn't talk about it last week. I knew about it, and I forgot to mention it. Tony Brown passed away. I don't know if you remember Tony Brown. Yeah. I think
you mentioned it last week, and I remember Tony Brown. He was always talking about people were always making crack jokes about his car because it's always the cheapest car you could get. And it was always like some just like almost foreign thing that was basically
he would talk about he bought a Yugo because it was the cheapest car out there, and it broke down all the time, as every Yugo did. And it was what was funny about Tony Brown was the way he would say the car's name sounded cheap. You go Yugo. Yugo. This is worse than the Vega. This is worse than the Vega I had.
No, the thing is, I don't think he actually bought it for the comedy material, but I think
I don't think he did. I think he bought it because he thought it would get him around. wrong.
Exactly. It was a cheap car. He was always going for the cheapest car out there because he says, you know, one time I had a Cadillac and it wore down just as fast as the Yugo, but it was like 10 times more expensive. So when you see
Tony,
me, I'm in a Yugo.
Tony really should have been in New York, because that's the type of person he was. He would have been very happy with an Upper West Side apartment, you know what I mean, which is expensive by our standards. Probably $1,400 a square foot or something. But I don't know. But anyway, and just taking the buses and the taxis and doing all those shows in town, it would have been perfect for him. He was about 10 years behind his time and in the wrong town.
Yeah. But what, he made decent money, but he decided to just want to stay in Detroit.
I guess. I mean, it was where you can work the comics that work in the city of Detroit, and that's their audience, which is to say, not me. I mean, I work in the city, but I don't consider that my audience. I don't think, when I come on stage, I think it's a favor from one of the other comics, and not necessarily because the fans are clamoring for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
doing you a favor,
Mike Bonner introduced me to an all-black crowd one time as saying, and this guy, when we started, every time he got on stage, all the other comics would run into the room because they heard Mark Sweet was on stage, and we all wanted to see what he was doing because he was the master back in the day. And as he's giving this intro to me, you hear somebody in the audience going, "We don't give a shit about that." We don't care about 10 years ago. Tell us what he's doing. Make us laugh now.
What you doing now, buddy? Whatever happened 10 years ago. I hope you've improved your jokes. That's what we're saying.
Exactly. Kind of like bringing a little bit of Evening at the Apollo home to Detroit with you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, that was B's Comedy Kitchen. Was that experience for me? A little bit of the Apollo for you and the Detroit area. So
I did all right at B's Comedy Kitchen. That was in fact, I recorded my first tape there, my first 45-minute tape, and that was before I didn't ever consider. Now these kids are getting 45 minutes. They go into a club, record it. Sometimes they'll take 8 weeks to record it, and then they patch it together, and then they sell it at their show. I never even thought about doing that. I just did it because we used to take audio tapes. This is before video, and send them to the club owners as like an audition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And even then, I never got a cold mailer. I would always, like, if I was working a club, we used to have a thing called Just for Laughs. Remember that newspaper that came to all the clubs?
Oh, yeah.
It would list all the clubs, and they would show who was coming up that month. Well, if I was like, Bob Saget or Dave Coulier or Mark Schiff or Bill Shaft or any of these guys that Carrie Snow, any of these people I worked for at the castle, I saw that they were going to a club that I wanted to get into, and they were going to be there the next week. I'd give them a tape. I wanted to give that to the owner. And then, I'd call, like in between shows or about the time I thought they were getting paid, I'd call and ask for them at the club. And I go, "Did you get that tape to him?" They go, "Yeah, he's right here." And so then that was usually my introduction, was the headliner comic and the club owner. And that's when all the club owners booked their own places for the most part. It wasn't until really in the 70s and early 80s, it wasn't until about 85, 86 that these chains started opening up, or the Yoders came along. Yoder came along like 85, 86. Mm-hmm. And started, what they do is they'd say, "All right, I'll give you 8 weeks of work, but you can't work the competing club in that town," type of thing. And that ruined everything. That ruined everything for us, because in Detroit, there were like 18 clubs here. Steve Billnitz and I figured out the apex for Detroit comedy was like 1988, 89. And we had 20 rooms that paid the headliners at least $500.
Yeah.
And you worked Friday and Saturday. Sometimes you only work one show Friday or Saturday, but it was, you still got paid $500, Yeah. And most of the rooms back then paid $2,500 for their headliner.
Yeah.
Five in
cash, 2,000 in cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of it was cash. You got paid in cash a lot, and a lot of this money wasn't legal. But we were leaving town the next day anyway. Who cares?
Yeah. No, it was pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting time. It was I felt lucky to have been able to do stuff back then. So
I saw Joey's got sold, and I think it's going to be an Indian restaurant.
Is it still an open mic there?
Yeah, it would be like the Indian version of Ding Ho's in Boston. You know, Ding Ho's was that
Exactly.
Chinese restaurant that became a famous comedy club.
Exactly. So stay out of the rice. Okay, here we go. You know.
No, I still think. Well, actually, they put a sign up for that they're gonna. It's going to be a banquet room in a restaurant or something like that. But they still got a lot of the local Ford dealership is still parking a lot of their extra surplus in their parking lot. So it's still a parking lot as far as I'm concerned. You know.
Well, that's all those cars without any chips in it. So they're all over the place. Those cars are all over. Everywhere I drive, those cars are there.
Oh,
but that's interesting. And I just saw that Joey is retiring from being a pilot.
He should. He's over 65. He should retire. He's old enough.
He's old enough. Well, it's kind of interesting. He got this new gig at apparently it's a museum over off of Wayne Airport, and it's like a bunch of old planes that still operate. So he gets to once in a while, I guess, he gets to fly these things.
Joey Balaska,
yeah.
Huh.
I saw it on Facebook. So I go like, wow, heck of a job.
The guy to Michigan. Isn't that funny? Because he lived out in Newport Beach, California, while he was flying, but he retires to Ipsy. That's weird.
No. He's out in California. This is Wayne. California. It's Wayne. It's off of Wayne Airport out in California.
Oh, the John Wayne Airport. Okay, well, that makes sense because that's he lives in Dana Point or something like that. He lives.
Why would he leave California to come back to Ipsy? God no.
I don't know. No. Good for him. No. Good for him. He didn't quit his night job. He didn't quit until he got his day job going. So that was kind of nice. That's great. That's great that we lived in a time where you could use comedy to get you to your job that you wanted, rather than all these other kids that are waiting to quit their day job to do comedy. You know, we
do comedy. There you go. Exactly.
We had comedy until we found out what our real calling was.
So Joey knew what he was up to. Yeah, you know, you got to give that guy credit. He put like 4 different clubs together. You know, well, he had 2 clubs. He had 3. He had a club in Belleville. He had a club in
Dearborn,
and he had another one in around Plymouth.
I think he did.
So he had 3 clubs he was running, and I was like, but he was like, you know, he was getting the stuff going through there, and you know, at the same time he was working on his pilot license, you know. So it's like, right. You know, you got to give the guy a lot of credit, and I, you know, just think about how many clubs have tried to start and die, you know, that have been in this town. It's like it's tougher than most people think. So it's like
the old joke. You know how to make $1 million in comedy? Start with $2 million. Start with $2 million.
Start with 2. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Okay, start with $2 million. How to make $1 million in comedy? First, start with $2 million.
Start with $2 million. Yeah, exactly. I think that's an old Steve Martin. I think that's an old Steve Martin joke, except his was how to do it in business. But we all knew what he was talking about. We knew the business.
Yeah. Yes. How to make $1 million verse. First, start off with $1 million. You know, and yeah, he was interesting. He's got. I think who else? Oh, what else is going on? Besides that,
you doing any shows?
Me?
Yeah.
No, there's some stuff coming up though. There's a lot of, I've gotten some contact. I'm gonna try and get something lined up sometime in the next. I really can't do anything in next month because I'm trying to get money to be able to do the Santa Claus thing. I'm going to try and work till after the 1st.
How much money do you need to do Santa Claus?
How much money do I get for Santa Claus?
No, how much money? You said you need money to do Santa Claus. That's not a losing effort, is it?
I mean, no. I got my. It's the reason I'm driving Uber is to pay my rent to getting to the Santa Claus month. So that's what I'm driving to maintain to get my rent and all that stuff lined up. for December and for this, so I can work. To work the Santa Claus gig.
Hey,
do you have your eyes? Do
you have any eyes? Do you have your eyes on any senior housing?
Me? No, not yet. I haven't yet.
I just wonder because at 6, I know at 65, my mom became eligible for this subsidized senior housing, which basically they took whatever her income was from pension and Social Security, and took a third of it for her rent.
Oh yeah,
which isn't bad. I mean, it was better than the market rates. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the government subsidized the rest of it.
Yeah, there's some senior places. There's actually a pretty good place. It's a tower. It's in downtown Ann Arbor, so it's like roughly it's like $800 a month, and that's all seniors in there. But you don't have a car or anything like that. But it's like that's a lot of people are trying to get in that. There's a list for that one.
Where's that at?
Downtown Ann Arbor.
Oh, that's the one. It's on 4th Street, right? That one?
Yeah.
By the parking deck? Yeah. Oh, that's a great location.
Yeah. So I think there's a waiting list for that one.
Well, I'd love to be. Yeah. I should get on that waiting list. I'm 62. I should get on the waiting list for that now.
You can get on that waiting list. But it may not maintain that level of rent. It may actually go up. There's another place downtown.
Well, a lot of the senior places, though, isn't that all based on whatever your wealth and income is? Yeah.
Now Tim is in a place in Ypsi, which is he's got himself set up in that way. So it's like he wants to go back to California, but he can't deny it. I got such a great job with rent here. So.
Well, you know what? If he can always fly out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He should just keep it. He should join one of those newsletters that do mistake fairs and stuff like that. You ever heard of that?
Oh yeah.
I used to use Yahoo search or Google search, something like that. And man, when my kids were working down at Disney, I used to go down there for like $17 because they'd fuck up their airfares. They'd have $170 round trip, and somebody would forget to put a decimal point in there. So I'm flying round trip down to Disney for $17, and I just go down there to have lunch with my kids or something.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is like, is it still going on?
You can't get them anymore. They figure, of course they figured out how to fix their mistake. They were losing money on this crap,
Yeah, especially Disney, I mean,
no, it wasn't Disney. It was the airlines that I was flying. I was taking advantage of, not Disney. Disney is where my kids were. My kids were working at Disney, so that's why I was going down to Disney. I got everything we get at Disney's been free.
Got it.
Because of my kids working there.
Cool. And they're still working there?
No. My son that was working one's working at Dave & Buster's now, and the other one is working for the California Unemployment Agency.
Ah, very nice.
It was funny because he got laid off from Disney and went to the unemployment office, complained so much that it was taking so long. They go, well, we're understaffed. He goes, so we applied for a job and got it.
Apply for a job here?
Yeah, we're understaffed. Really? How do you get a job here? Here, fill this out. And that was it. Nice. And he works from home. He's not even he works out of the office in Inglewood, and he's in North Hollywood, which is about a 50-minute commute. But because of the COVID, ever since he got the job during COVID, and he's never had to go back into the office. I think maybe once a month he has to go in to do something.
Got
it. Training or something. But for the most part, he's at
home.
He's working at home.
Wow. That's the fun thing about COVID. Now, will he ever have to go into the office at this point?
I think eventually, but I mean, he's done the job without having to. I mean, I guess you'd have to have a good reason, like more pay.
I would like to pay a little more.
You talk about this great resignation they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be because so many people saw how easy it was to work from home. And if you got the work done, your argument to your boss would be, I get the same work done at home as I do when I'm in there. Why do I have to come in? Well, because we want to make sure you're working. Well, how did you do it when I wasn't there for the last 18 months? Well, it's different now because you can come back now. Well, I'm going to quit.
Yeah. So
You
everybody's
can't quit.
resigning.
You can't quit. You're fired. You can't fire me. I quit.
Yeah, exactly. I can find another job right now that'll accommodate me for what I want. Yeah. So, and that's true. There are places out there. The competition is this is the greatest time for workers now. It's the greatest time for unions to start, rebuilding their.
Oh, and you know what? The pandemic is doing what the union should have been doing a long time ago, getting us to stand up to our bosses.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole thing. It's like, they're starting to realize that if they don't show up, nothing can happen. And it's like,
well, especially the whole women and childcare thing. It was kind of like, if I don't go to work, I can't, afford to. Well, they couldn't go to work, and they were still able to raise their children. And I think a lot of people said, this is what I'm missing for, that measly wage they're giving me. I think I'll figure out how to get by without it.
Yeah, and that's what
if you get most. I think it's easier for couples to do that resignation thing, and that threat to quit and all that stuff than it is for individuals. Because single people, they don't have that income for the other person. I've been able to say, one of the reasons I was able to go as far as I did in comedy is because I was able to say no to shit.
Yes.
Once my wife got her degree and started working, that was that was about the time that we moved to California, because I could just say, no, I'm not going to meddle anymore. I'm just going to do we don't think you're ready to headline. I go, well, guess what? There's 8 clubs that do think I'm ready to headline. So I'm going to I'm going to live off of those 8 clubs for a year until I get 16 next year. And I'll live off of those 16 until I get 32 the next year. And that's how it's going to work. So let me know when you're ready to headline me. So that's, sometimes you just have to do that.
Yeah. You got to walk out of the room. You got to be willing to leave the deal on the table.
Yeah. And sometimes they're going to say, yeah. And the problem is that they think, oh yeah, well, we already got 52 guys in a week and we'll just work them twice if we have to. And then those people do the same thing. So eventually, they're still got to go down the list and fill their calendar. So, but that was back when we had 8,000 clubs. A little bit difficult now.
It's somewhat different now.
Now you're left with your ass hanging out if you do the demand thing. You got to be careful of that.
Yeah.
But
so
I'm not going to apologize. You know what, Andy? I'm not going to apologize for when I was born. I was born at the perfect time. I went to college at the perfect time. I graduated from college at the perfect time. I got into the clubs when they were starting. When I was done with school and could commit to comedy full time, it was a time when they were looking to hire anybody that could stand up and talk.
Yes.
The audiences were so great that you didn't have to be that funny at first. I mean, eventually, if you wanted to, you had to. But
eventually, it became poetry. Eventually, it became like you're doing verse. You just couldn't get up there and do like, hey, I'm going to put eggs on my head, that sort of stuff. I'm
going to squash this watermelon with a giant hammer.
Well, yeah, it's like, yes, I'm Gallagher. Oh, yes, the Smash-O-Matic, who doesn't remember that? But I'm just going I think Letterman hit it on the head, is that, he wanted to go into broadcasting, but nobody knew how to get into broadcasting. There was no classes out there that specifically said, if you do this class, you're going to be on this TV show in 2 years, because there was no like direct line to it. And essentially comedy was the same way, it's sort of like you had no real way of doing it until you actually went out there and did it.
Yep.
You went to the open mics and you kind of go, well, what, how do you keep moving up? You start asking the other comics. There was no theater program that offered stand-up. There was no theater program that offered.
There is now.
There is now, yes. Because all those guys that were stand-ups before said, well, why don't I just teach a class? I can become a professor. That whole thing. So now it's like every college has a stand-up thing.
Yeah.
Every college has some sort of improv thing.
Yeah.
So like now everybody is a comedy writer. Nobody wants to do anything else but write comedy now.
Yeah. I'm glad I got in when I did. I had a good time. And you know what? If I never work again, my last year was 2019, and I had 2 shows in 2020 before the thing. And I headlined them all, and I killed every night. And, it was, if I don't ever do it again, it was a good way to go out. It was fun. It was everybody that needed to see me. My family eventually saw me. It was. I did a show. When I grew up out in Waterford, out by where Stan's is, and I didn't even think about it when I booked there. But I was there in 2019, and the first. Thank God it was a Thursday and not a Friday Saturday show. But on Thursday night, I get there, and the whole front row was my family. And when I say the front row is our tables, like tables of 8. And so there's like 24, 25 people, 24 people, all from my family. And it's like, we're having a great time because I'm doing all this shit that only they would get. And I go, oh, wait a minute. We got to remember there's the rest of the audience after the first row is here that doesn't know all these things that we were making jokes about and everything. But man, I'm glad that was Thursday night. That was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, everybody got to see me that needed to see me. And
so are you saying that most of your club owners are now dead or something like that? The people that hired you?
I did, yeah, pretty much. Jim Schliebner just died recently. Remember Crackers in Indianapolis and Tampa?
Yeah,
that was one of the places that he was one of the first guys to headline me. He just passed away. He just passed away this year. And yeah, that's the way it goes. Hey, Kurum's here.
Kurum, we made it.
Yeah.
Kurum speak, ladies.
Hey, great. We got something to talk. I mean, yeah, we were talking very hard about a lot of stuff.
I'm glad you wore a beard so that you could fit into our show here. This is
yeah, I see that instantly, and I made mine gray so I could fit in with you guys.
Well, mine, yeah, just to fit in with it. Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he dyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you didn't have to go as bald as you did, but good work. That looks good too. So.
Thank you. I try to go the extra mile. But I think with the COVID, everybody grew a beard. I know several ladies have beards.
Well, they
definitely have mustaches.
They do it for a different reason. We do it to be attractive. They do it to be, unattractive, to be distractive. They do it to ward off evil spirits. So.
Or I'm going to leave that politically incorrect version alone.
Thank you.
You can't even hear shame these days. This is 2021.
You can't do any kind of shaming. You can't make fun of a dead bird in the road. Somebody will have a fit about you making fun of a dead bird in the road. I don't know.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
So what was the topic? Did I miss something juicy?
We were talking about what we always talk about. We talk about our lives, our gigs, and the events of the day. Let's see. We all agreed that New Zealand is pretty progressive because they don't do anything nuclear, and they always seem to have enough energy. They did all right with COVID. They seem to be able to. Everybody there got along. New Zealand seems to be the place where people just get along. And we talked about how all the European countries colonized. Let's see what else are we talking about.
Aboriginal several years ago.
What New Zealand? How many different tribes are in New Zealand? Because New Zealand is so small; it's only like 4 islands, isn't it?
I'm no expert, but I was just throwing in like the original Aboriginals. I think they have some lawsuits that are giving them money. They did kind of take over the country, but hey, England got rid of their prison, so it was kind of a win-win.
Yeah, isn't it funny? No matter how bad a person is in prison, once you give them 3 generations, they seem to turn out okay.
Yep. Trump's great grandkids should turn out okay then.
I would think with all the islands that we have around us that we could do something clever like that. Make a penal colony or something.
Yeah, Boblo Island was kind of like that in its heyday.
That was a good idea. Yeah.
My wife sings in the Livonia Civic Chorus. Well, she's not singing this year, but in the past she sang. And she had a member of that group that lived on Boblo. That's all luxury condos now down there in townhomes and things like that. And she drives, which means she has to cross a bridge to Amherst, then drive all the way up to Windsor, across the bridge to Detroit, then drive out to Livonia, all to sing in a community chorus. It isn't even her community. She lives in Boblo.
Well, teach her about the Zoom thing then.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she loves the Zoom practices. The only person that doesn't like the Zoom practices is the choir director because nobody can sync 36 people all at once. That's kind of hard to do on Zoom.
Yeah, you got to get the premium.
Cora, what are you up to?
Oh, actually, I have one little thing to promote. Wednesday is the Beach Tiki Club in Wall Lake.
Oh, okay.
Bar grill that Tom Swan does.
Yeah.
And so I'll be hosting that. It's an open mic, but he selected the people. And we just got a message from him. It is his 50th birthday that day. So he said,
"Oh, wow.
We'll roast him for the comedy." And so, as you know, he's pretty open about his weight issues. So he said we can weight shame him. So it should be a fun little.
That's another thing we talked about tonight. I stepped on the scale at my doctor's on last Thursday, and I'm under 210 for the first time since I had kids. So, what's that? 36 years ago now. So,
wow.
If I get
is
under
that a
200,
conscious decision? You've been trying to lose weight, or you just
no. Andy and I were talking about this before you got on. I think it's the COVID where a lot of people gain weight because they were just doing Grubhub and DoorDash and stuff and just ordering fast food. I found that it's just the opposite. When we had a busy life and kids to get to everything and two people working, and a lot of times you were just eating what was fast and convenient, didn't care what kind of nutritional value it had. Whereas now I've got time to prepare a meal. I'm selecting the ingredients of the things I'm making, and it's, I'm just eating better.
Well, that's great. That's great. So, the rest of the world could learn.
But I may get under 200 because I just joined a basketball class at Schoolcraft College. And so hopefully I was telling Andy that I've already taken 3 spills that I've barely gotten up from. So I'm glad it's a senior basketball class because all the other old men there, we help each other up. It's been anybody that falls down. Some guys don't even have to fall down. Some guys sit down and they need help getting up. So, but God love them. You know what? They're going out there. They're old. They're playing basketball. God love them. What the heck?
Yeah, that's what sport. That's not so easy as you're older.
Yeah,
You can do like that curling where you just sweep the floor. That you can do it as you're older.
Yeah. I tell you what.
You can lean on the stick. That helps you lean on the stick because you can kind of move it down the thing. There you go.
Well, I've seen seniors play hockey too, and it's a completely different game. Senior hockey is. It's kind of funny because I was admitting to Andy, and I wouldn't tell this to the guys I play ball with, but I can't shoot more than 6 feet away. And so I got to be careful. I can't get open too far out. I got to make sure that, you know what I mean? Because if I they'll go shoot at you because I'm making baskets when I'm close to the basket. So now they're getting me the ball because I'm putting it in the hole, but I'm too far away from the basket. I don't want to shoot the ball and have the thing airball from 6 feet away.
Yeah.
One time I see this opening. I go, oh great, I can dribble in and I'll be 2 feet away from the basket. I'll just do a layup. And so I dribble toward the basket, and all of a sudden I hear from the sideline, like a foghorn from a tugboat or a freighter, because I'm going so slow toward the basket. It's like,
I can't. Like the last time I played, I pulled a groin muscle. It wasn't my muscle. There was a penalty.
Somebody frowned upon that, and somebody probably smiled too.
Yeah.
It helped with the after party. There we go.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard or not, but we're having a. Hold on, my wife's calling. We're having a reunion. Andy, take over. Tell them about the Unclub reunion.
Okay, there is an Unclub reunion on the 26th. It's going to be over at the Riverside Arts thing, and he explained it a little bit to me. Everybody who's on the Unclub roster will be able to perform, I think. But there's going to be like a meeting of the guys out in front, and then there's going to be like a push for an audience, but it's going to be some other thing. It's like lost him.
Oh no, he's still there. That was me pushing the wrong button. Sorry about that. Anyway, we're doing a reunion for the Unclub. So,
yeah, on day after Christmas. So I'll be there unless
some
weird thing.
Awesome. And we're counting on you for the Super Bowl party again this year too, right, Corum?
Yeah, for sure. We can watch Stafford maybe.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Look, we don't want him to get too well because we get their first round draft pick this year. We don't want them to suck up a little bit at the end of the year, just so that we can get a higher pick.
Yeah. Well, our own pick will be pretty darn high.
Yeah, our own pick would be number one. It would be nice if we could get at least like a 25 or something like that.
Well, hey, if Corum, I know you just going the way we're going now, we'll probably get number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, because we are probably going to lose every game.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You only get one. You don't get a pick for every loss. You get a pick for how badly you are in the standings.
Yeah, well, we'll probably get half the standings, so who knows? I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Hey, fellas, I hate to break this up, but my daughter just called. I have to go pick her up from work because she's out in the middle of the mall that's closed. So I'm going to have to wrap this up. And thanks for showing up, Corum. Appreciate it, even though we're cutting you off real quick here. You were entertaining and funny as always, but. Come on by anytime you want on Monday nights. I'll get you the link. Usually Monday afternoon I send it out, and we chat just about the stuff that we always chat about at the clubs. It's just we're not at the clubs; we're here. So, thanks for coming, Andy. Thanks for coming, Corum. And we'll see everybody next Monday night. Oh, wait a minute! Next Monday I may not be doing a show, so I'll make that announcement later in the week. And
okay.
And we'll see if you think of anybody else that we could add to this crew. Make sure it's not another white guy. Trying to make it a little bit more diverse than just a bunch of white guys. But anyway, good to see everybody. Anybody that was following my Facebook page. Oh, I want to make this announcement too. My cousin, my brother's boy was missing. My nephew. I just found out before we went on the air that he has been located and he's safe. So thank you for all your concern and prayers for that. But as far as I know, he's okay. I don't have any more details than that. Like I said, I just heard about it before we came up. So we'll see everybody next Monday night. If not Monday, maybe Tuesday. And sayonara for now. Good night, Andy.
Good night.